The swamp. 3 days, wizard. 3 days we've been in this swamp, and all we have to show for it are mosquito bites and a fever. What are we doing here? Perhaps your stick didn't know where we were supposed to go. Gwondor was frustrated, tired, and thoroughly annoyed that he had found himself in the company of a madman. Or rather, a mad half-elf. The moon hung half full above the swamp, and Mysaides was curiously pensive, deep in thought. Answer me. How does this get us any closer to the end of our journey? You found all the other ingredients. We nearly died with the elves. We've been in this infernal bog for 3 days. What is here? Mysaides looked up at the moon. My friend. He said it very differently than he usually did. One could almost detect a tender place in Mysaides' heart for Gwondor. My friend, there is method even to this madness. Only in a place like this can you find a creature capable of giving us the tears we need. Tears freely given. Tears not compelled by pain or contrived, but true tears born from the heart. Gwondor slapped a mosquito that had taken residence upon his neck, leaving a large splotch of blood as it was crushed beneath his gigantic hand. What could anything mourn in this horrid place? When a dryad loses its forest, when the woods it has walked from the beginning of the world until now are gone, it mourns. It puts on black. Usually, they are a very stoic folk. Stoic? What does that mean? Philosophers, Greeks, very strange people. Though they have the ability to live in luxury, they decide to live as hermits. Very contradictory people, especially Aurelius. Aurelius? Wizard! Makes sense. Who is Aurelius? Oh, just a man. Human, like you. Smaller, though. Much smaller. A bit lanky. Very annoying when it comes to Spartan diets. Spartans? Never mind. Needless to say, the tears we seek are here. You'll have to trust me. It's been 3 days. How much longer must we endure the snakes, the frogs, and the bugs until we find who we seek? Did you know she was here, or are you making this up as you go along? A little bit of both. You are truly exasperating, Mysaides, and you are truly impatient. If it takes a year, it takes a year. A year? I don't have a year to waste in this bog. It's a small price to pay for someone you're courting. Most people take much longer. A faint, dangerous smile touched Mysaides' face. I suppose she's not really worth it, then. Careful, wizard, careful. I'm in no mood for your mockery. And I'm in no mood for your impatience, barbarian. It will take as long as it takes. They attempted to make camp, but the soaked wood would not burn. Not even Mysaides' magical fire could overcome the dampness of the swamp. The flames sputtered, hissed, and vanished. And so the mosquitoes tormented them both. Not even with all his magic could Mysaides overcome them. For hours, all they could hear, other than the buzzing in their ears, was the whine of mosquitoes, the croak of frogs feasting, and the ringing of cicadas as they left their hollow, skeletal bodies upon the bones of the once beautiful forest. The heat was oppressive, and both of them wished they were not in such a predicament as to spend the night there again. Yet Mysaides insisted that eventually he would find her. Gwondor swatted at another mosquito. What kind of tears are we talking about, Mysaides? You said earlier that we needed a dryad with a tender heart, and then you admitted that you don't know one. True, I don't. Then why would she give us the tears freely, especially tears of sorrow? Mysaides smiled wryly. Tears of sorrow will do no good for your stone goddess. Gwondor stared at him. Then why are we seeking a dryad who is nothing but sorrow? Because joy restores. For once, Mysaides' voice carried no mockery. If we can give her even the smallest measure of joy, then one tear may be enough to break the spell. They wandered for a long while before Gwondor spoke again. Do you even know if this dryad is still alive? It seems to me that in this place of death, grief might have taken her. Everything here seems to be in decay. Mysaides, annoyed by the heat, the incessant sweat, the itching of his beard, the mosquitoes, and the general irritation of the place, turned toward him. You truly are very blind, my barbarian friend. Perhaps you are more muscle than mind. Gwondor's expression hardened. This place is not death, Mysaides continued. Even in death there is life. In fact, there is far too much life right now. Leeches, mosquitoes, worms, larvae, and whatever else thrives upon what has died. He gestured toward the drowned trees. That is the unfortunate order of things. What was once life becomes worm food, larva food, and sustenance for everything that crawls. That is what this place has become. No, the dryad is quite alive. How can you be certain? The root systems are still here, you see. Waterlogged and dead, true. But while there are still roots, there is still life. A dryad is bound to her forest. So long as even part of its roots endure, some part of her endures with them. They wandered on until darkness settled completely over the swamp. Beyond the buzzing insects, the marsh gradually fell still. No frogs called, no wings stirred above the black water. Mysaides stared into the drowned forest and spoke as though reciting words remembered from another world. A voice is heard in Ramah, lamenting and bitter weeping. Rachel weeps for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children because they are no more. Gwondor turned toward him. The dryad's name is Rachel. No. Her name is Anna, Mysaides said. Rachel is merely what I remember when I think of her. He looked across the drowned forest. These trees were her children. Now they rot beneath the water and swamp. What happened here? That itself is a dreaded story. We have all the time in the world, and you dragged me here. We cannot move through this place at night. So tell me a story, Mysaides. Perhaps it will help me fall asleep. Very well. Mysaides settled himself against the twisted remains of a tree. Men were fighting elves here. Men? Yes, and the men were in the right. Gwondor raised an eyebrow. Anna chose to help them. To break the elves, great siege engines were needed. She wished to break the grey elves' tyranny, and so she granted the humans permission to cut down some of her beloved children and fashion them into engines of war. And they did? They did. Mysaides stared across the black water. But this displeased Emperor Malastrix. He paused. No, that wasn't his name. Gwondor sighed. What was his name? The Grey Elf Emperor. Malakar. Mysaides nodded slowly. Perhaps it was Malakar. Perhaps? The Grey Elf Emperor Malakar not only defeated the humans, but discovered where the wood for their siege engines had come from. When the siege of his city was broken, he and his followers came here and unleashed the river into this forest. Mysaides gestured toward the drowned landscape. What trees were not swept away by the tide became the waste you see here now. Anna had risked a few of her children to aid the humans of the city of Thayerson. In the end, she lost all of them. Gwondor looked across the stagnant water and the pale trunks rising from it. So she sacrificed a few of her children to aid the humans. Yes, and lost them all. Mysaides' expression darkened. Tragedy, truly. A giant, bulbous nose was the first thing upon which every eye seemed to fix. Yes, Falcar Skullsplitter possessed a fine beard. It curled and braided across his chest in a manner befitting a dwarven lord. Yet, as the captains and officers gathered in the great hall, it was his nose that commanded attention before his voice finally seized it. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I'll be damned if I'm going to be impressed by the so-called divine favor enjoyed by some pointy-eared tart among the deep dwarves. Murmurs rolled across the tables. Our black-hearted cousins think they can march into our lands and take our halls, but what have they fought until now? Goblins. Falcar leaned forward. And goblins are not the dwarves of the Iron Mountains, now are they, lads? The hall erupted. Gauntleted fists struck tables and stone walls. The blows rang through the chamber like drums beaten beneath the earth. My grandfather hewed this very hall in which we meet today. The notion that one of those cursed dwarves, those worshippers of darkness, will ever set foot within my hall or lay claim to my family's legacy is comical at best. Another roar of approval rose from the assembled officers. Falcar lifted both hands. "Come now, lads, tell me, how many dwarves have you brought?" One by one, the captains called out their numbers. Companies from the western mines, regiments from the lower forges. Shield-bearers from the deep veins bordering duergar territory. When the final count was made, more than 15,000 dwarves had assembled beneath the mountain. It was a tremendous host. They had come from across the kingdom, summoned from distant halls and settlements that rarely agreed upon anything. Yet when called to confront a common enemy, they had gathered as one. Did they fear? They would have been fools not to. Over the past several months, the duergar had marched from victory to victory. First came the conquest of the goblin tribes. Then, more remarkably, they had seized and occupied several drow colonies. With the subjugation of those colonies had come something resembling an alliance. Now, as though some impossible nightmare had crawled out of the deepest caverns, drow and duergar marched together against a common foe. Falcar continued. Some among you may say that we should go crawling to our allies upon the surface. The humans, the gnomes, the pointy-eared elves. Perhaps we should beg them to rescue us from this threat. He looked slowly across the hall. But tell me honestly, lads, are we dwarves or are we moles? A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. If we are moles, then let us stop this council at once and send delegates to beg for aid. Falcar planted both fists upon the table. But if we are dwarves, then is not every warrior in this room and every dwarf standing in the mighty host beyond these walls worth at least 10 of the enemy? The response was thunderous. Fists hammered wood and stone again and again, forming a brutal rhythm that echoed throughout the hall. Wooden drums, stone drums, the heartbeat of an army. "That," Falcar shouted above them, "is how much confidence I have in you, lads." Then he turned toward the woman who had been waiting patiently beside the council table. In a great hall, celebrations raged. Music echoed through the stone chambers. Dark music, disturbing music, revelry that sounded less like joy and more like savagery. Voices rose, cups struck tables, boots pounded against the floor. Yet beyond a small curtain, separated from the celebration by only a thin veil of cloth, she stood, frozen in stone. Lystar. A few oil lamps hung around her, their flames low and unsteady. The light fell softly across her form, leaving one side of her face in shadow. Outside, they celebrated in her name. Inside, she could do nothing but listen. It must be said that petrification is a complex spell indeed, filled with subtleties that most who have never experienced it could not possibly understand. One might imagine that being turned to stone would leave a person in some kind of catatonic state, unconscious and entirely unaware of the world around them. But as any good dwarf will tell you, stone has memory. Stone can hear. And in the case of the enchantment placed upon the elf maiden Lystar, things were stranger still. You see, being unable to breathe while still possessing lungs that desperately attempt to do so makes absolutely no sense in terms of biology. In magic, however, it makes perfect sense. The enchantment loops the need for air. The lungs try to breathe, the mind slowly fades, the eyesight darkens, the hearing dims, and then, almost as though caught in some perpetual cycle, consciousness returns. For a few moments, Lystar can hear what is happening around her. For perhaps a minute, she can see a grey and faded impression of the world. Then the need for air returns. Her lungs strain to breathe. Nothing comes. The darkness closes in again, and then it begins anew. It is torture. Every few minutes, Lystar awakens within her prison of stone, only to endure the same terrible cycle. And through those fleeting moments of consciousness, she has heard what is being done in her name. She has heard Karvek Stone-Eye speak of his love for her. She has felt that love, and everything within her recoils from what he has made of it. Subjugation, conquest, war. Worst of all, she has heard herself elevated into something divine, when Lystar knows that she is no more divine than any other elf. What is being done in her name, or rather in the name of whatever Karvek and his followers imagine her to be, troubles her deeply. Yet the cruelest part is that she can do nothing to stop it. She cannot move. She cannot speak. She cannot tell those who bow before her to rise. She cannot tell those who kill in her name that she wants none of it. And so, imprisoned within the stone, Lystar cries out where no one can hear her. "Is there no deliverance for me? Please, let me be smashed, so that I may be no more. Let me cease to exist before one more person falls, before one more soul is persecuted on my behalf." She would have screamed. She would have begged. She would have wept. Yet stone does not weep. At least, not with tears that can be seen. Mysaides and Gwondor stood at the edge. Everywhere else, the grass of the bog grew tall. The mud stirred beneath their feet, and the whole floor of the swamp seemed to undulate with life. Yet here, within this small circle, there was almost no movement at all, save for the beautiful female form seated before a pool. Everywhere else, the marsh felt corrupted, yet life still flowed through it. Here, there was nothing. No frog croaked, no insect buzzed. Even the mosquitoes seemed unwilling to cross the boundary. It was as though the life of the swamp itself understood that this place must not be disturbed. Under the light of the moonlit grove, silver light blanketed the clearing and the lonely pool. There, a beautiful and forlorn dryad gazed upon her reflection and wept. In her despair, she wanted nothing more than to lift her eyes and look around her. Yet, whenever she did, all she could see were the things she had once been given to care for, the things she had loved, tended, communed with, and spoken to. All gone, burned by dragonfire, destroyed by the grey elf emperor. Even the swamp seemed to respond to her sorrow. A slight breeze made its way through the bog and touched the tears upon her face, almost as though trying to caress them away. Yet she would not be comforted. Such is the sorrow of a mother who remembers the children once held at her breast and now mourns for them. Such was the depth of Anna's grief. And it was upon this solemn occasion, one that had continued for many years, that Mysaides cautioned his friend. "Stay here at the edge, Gwondor. Allow me." Gwondor stared at him. You are strangely in your right mind. Mysaides approached the pool alone. Noble mother of the forest, I greet you, and I mourn with you. Your wood was once magnificent and splendid. I myself found solace beneath the shade of its branches. A shudder traveled down Anna's spine. A voice had broken the silence of her long self-exile. I did what was right, she said, yet my repayment was the lives of my children and the death of my land. Mysaides paused. Often doing what is right comes at a cost. Even when it serves what is right, what is good, and what is true. Those are the things we should hold to most dearly, and yet they are often the things that cost us the most. He looked upon the ruined forest. Your sacrifice was not in vain. There will come a time of reckoning, when all things are made right. I do not wish to live to see such days. Anna still would not look at him. Wanderer, why do you come to my place? Why do you enter my clearing, which is no longer a clearing? Why do you come to this murky pool of my tears to interrupt a sorrow that cannot be assuaged? Mysaides looked down into the water. Rightly said, those salty tears have poisoned the soil. Things can no longer grow here, even if new things wished to take root. Anna lowered her head. What use is there for a gardener who has killed her garden? What use is a caretaker who took no care? Failure, my lady, is not the end. It is only the beginning. If once things did not thrive, yet you still draw breath, there remains an opportunity to continue the work. For the first time, Mysaides knelt beside her. I have come with a gift that, even in your mourning, I hope you can see. He gently touched her shoulder. Anna shuddered. She had not felt the touch of another living being in so long that she no longer knew how to respond. Still, she would not lift her eyes from the reflection staring back at her. Mysaides reached into his beard and broke free a small twig. This is a very special branch, Lady Anna. He held it over the pool, where both their reflections could be seen beneath the moonlight. It comes from a faraway land, where the trees grow very tall indeed. Trees unlike any here. In fact, entire men can live within the hollows of them. Anna stared at the twig. I have neither the skill, nor the heart, nor the forgiveness of myself to care for anything anymore. And the water that has flowed from me, as you say, has poisoned the ground. This salty marsh is all that remains. Nothing grows here but cottontail, insects, and razor grass. That is not true. Mysaides placed his hand into the pool and stirred the water. At first, nothing happened. Then the water began to shimmer. Light spread outward from his fingers in widening circles. The murky brown of the bog slowly disappeared, until beneath the moon there remained a clear and radiant pool. Mysaides placed the little twig into the water. Roots emerged. Anna finally lifted her eyes. Before her, the tiny branch began to take hold beneath the earth. The water is fresh now, Mysaides said. He looked at the tiny tree and then at Anna. And this little tree, this small seedling, if you can leave your sorrow long enough to care for it, will give you something to tend again. There was a quiet in the hall where hammers once rang and cups and plates clanked against heavy tables. Even the light of the braziers seemed to dim as a woman moved from one side of the hall. Walked, danced, floated. It was difficult to say which. There was such grace in her form and movement that those who watched could scarcely tell whether they were looking upon another living being or poetry set into motion. She did not belong underground. She belonged beneath starlit skies. Yet here she was, Queen Elindi. She crossed the hall beneath the gaze of every dwarf present, until at last her eyes settled upon Falcar Skullsplitter. "Skullsplitter," she said softly, her voice almost melodic. "I think you grossly underestimate the opponent you face." "Skullsplitter," she said softly, her voice almost melodic. "I think you grossly underestimate the opponent you face." The hall quieted. If it were so simple for the dwarves to defeat this enemy, there would be no need for a council. Your king would merely say, "Come," and you would all come. She looked around the chamber at the captains gathered there. "But your war council advises caution. Why? Why do you forsake such wisdom? Why will you not go to the human lords? To the elven lords?" Falcar said nothing. The Underdark rises. Something is drawing its peoples together. Goblin, deep dwarf, drow, enemies who have hated one another for generations, and yet now they march together. Elindi's expression darkened. It is not the spirit of Lolth that moves them. It is something else entirely. She stepped closer to the table. "And yet you would ride cavalier into your own destruction rather than heed a warning." A few of the captains shifted uneasily. "If you go to battle, Falcar Skullsplitter, then know the enemy you are facing. This battle will not be decided by who possesses the greater arms. Wars are fought in the will." She paused. "She is their will." Falcar's brow furrowed. "It is her you must fight. But understand me, in fighting her, you do not fight something evil." Elindi's voice softened. "You fight something tormented." Falcar rose. "Queen Elindi, you grace my halls with your presence, but do not mistake my hospitality for a need to hear vague, mystical sayings." His enormous hand closed around the haft of his axe. "There's blood to be had, and my axe is thirsty. What else is there?" He looked toward his captains. "These deep dwarf rats think they will march into my kingdom? Let them come. They will find every dwarf ready to fight, and every heart made of granite." Elindi studied him for a long moment. "Someday, Falcar, you will need to trust someone you have no reason to trust." The boastful smile slowly disappeared from his face. "You will have to choose not to betray someone who appears certain to betray you." She stepped nearer. "And in that moment, the object of your hatred will not be something outside you." Elindi touched one finger lightly against his breastplate. "It will be here." She withdrew her hand. "Within!" Under the moonlight, Anna looked up for the first time at the ridiculous face staring back at her. Twigs and moss protruded from the half-elf's enormous beard. His face, though kindly enough, was almost comical beneath it all. Were it not for her sorrow, she might have laughed. In fact, somewhere deep within herself, she almost did. Then Anna looked down. The twig Mysaides had dipped into the pool had taken root. The young roots were tender, reaching outward beneath the water, and she could hear it, singing, the singing of a dream. It sang of a faraway land she did not know, of sunshine beneath a lemon-yellow sun, of enormous waves crashing against distant cliffs. Anna reached down and gently lifted the little sapling from the water. She cradled it in her arms. Her touch seemed to nourish it. She could feel its roots reaching outward, searching for earth. With her free hand, Anna reached into the newly cleansed water and gathered a handful of soil from beneath it. She worked the wet earth between her fingers and carefully pressed it around the tender roots. To most eyes, trees do not grow quickly. But Anna was no ordinary observer of trees. She felt it. The young tree reached into soil filled with the ash and charcoal of her lost children. And instead of rejecting it, the sapling fed upon it. What had been destroyed became nourishment for something new. Before her eyes, almost imperceptibly, it grew, just a little. Anna stared at it. Then, for the first time, she truly looked at her visitor. "Who are you?" Mysaides smiled. "I am a servant." He looked down at the sapling in her arms. There is a saying, true religion is this, to visit the orphan and the widow in their distress. His eyes returned to hers. "And Lady Anna, your distress is legendary." He gestured toward the little tree. "So I bring you this gift. May it be the first of many children." Anna smiled, and for the first time in what seemed like ages, tears rolled down her face. Mysaides watched as the silver light of the moon caught one of those tears and sent a tiny glimmer across her beautifully chiseled face. And strangely, his own heart felt lighter. From beyond the edge of the clearing came a cough. "Gwondor!" The sound almost broke whatever spell had settled over the place. Mysaides glanced toward him, then back to Anna. "My lady, might I ask a boon of you?" Anna continued to cradle the sapling. She smiled. "To one who restores purpose, ask."